I want to say thank you for coming on the channel and agreeing to this. I'm so happy. I was excited.
Wow.
So everyone
Thanks for
knows
having
you.
me. I'm
Yeah.
flattered actually that you asked.
Really?
I was like, Classic Sam wants to interview me and I don't know why.
I like interviewing. I'm nosy, so I like interviewing interesting people, and you
Aw.
are one of the most interesting people I've come across.
No,
Um,
nonsense.
Especially since I think I first met you. I now it's face to face, but first met you in Rob's chat. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and then I kind of started following you from there, but I knew you from before. But everyone knows you as NerdWytch on here, but you also have another name. But we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
How did the name NerdWytch come about?
Well, it was about a year ago right now actually that I started
Mm,
thinking about streaming.
okay,
I wanted to get started. But at the time, I was going by Fang Fetish all over Discord.
okay.
Um, and that name came about after my first Sin City Sanguines book came out, Zane, which
Mm.
is vampire centric. and But that was God. Zane came out in 2018, so I don't
Yeah,
know what the math is. 6 years ago.
yeah, something like that. Yep.
And I don't know, I just felt kind of distant from Thang Fetish, and
Hmm.
I was like, if I'm gonna start streaming and I really want to build an audience,
Right.
what's gonna get across, you know, what I'm about.
Right.
And so I landed on NerdWitch because originally I was gonna start streaming like witchy stuff a
Oh,
lot.
cool.
But we've been focusing a lot more on writing lately,
Mm.
so the
Yeah,
witchy stuff hasn't quite happened yet.
that that's totally fine. I mean,
But
like
I
the
mean,
writing is amazing in itself. So
when you boil it down, I'm a nerd. I'm a witch. That's what it is.
that's what it is. You also your author name Amanda Sebring, and your name
Yep.
Amanda Sebring. You're a gamer. You're a lore master. You do all things Dragon Age. And just so you know, I have been playing Dragon Age forever, and I'm
Yes.
still mad that I
Yes. You're
cannot
evil.
get by Dragon Age 2, the final boss. I cannot beat that boss.
Well,
I've turned it off
I
for
I may
multiple
have the
times.
answer because I do give combat tips as well
Oh,
in my
we're
streams.
gonna
Yeah.
have to get into that. But how and
Yeah.
when did you start doing all these things on Twitch, in the Twitch universe, and why did you choose Twitch?
I think I chose Twitch because it's familiar.
Okay.
Obviously, I've been a Twitch viewer for a long time between all the Viva guys and Rob and
Mhm.
AJ and you and Zaxby's Giant, Dreaded
Mhm.
GM, just everybody. And it felt like the least toxic denominator.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Because
Because,
TikTok is a
I don't
mess.
know, there's something about the Twitch community that's
Yeah,
just very supportive and open and welcoming, and I really, really love that vibe. So,
yeah.
I
Also,
wanted to continue to perpetuate it.
yeah, I totally get it. And also TikTok is like a mess, and then
I
you,
mean,
oh my God, that is a navigation nightmare. But
right.
because I don't know if people know, but I am also on TikTok as well as NerdWitch, and it is interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a word for it.
that's a word for it.
That's a word for it.
When you first started making content, how did you overcome that anxiety and fear of being on camera, or was it like a natural thing for you?
What was. I think, first of all, and let me preface this with the fact that I live with a lot of mental health conditions that cause emotional dysregulation.
Okay.
So to me, anxiety is not something to be overcome. It's a thing that's just there,
Okay.
and you do the thing anyway.
Right.
Um, because I don't let emotions make my decisions for me.
Right.
Because if I was going to let emotions make my decisions, I would never have published anything ever.
Makes sense.
Um, but the anxiety was more around just the unfamiliarity of like the tech
Mm.
and the fact that I'm middle-aged, let's be real, and it was a lot to learn. It was a
Mhm.
lot to understand, Um, and I think I think it was like, I don't want to go live and just look like an absolute idiot not
Right.
knowing what I'm doing with the technology. So, but I mean, being on camera, performance kind of does kind of come naturally to me. It's something I've been doing all my life. You know, drama club all through school, and I used to sing in church,
Oh
and
wow.
you know,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I'm used to being in front of people and doing things, but this wasn't another. It was just another type of being in front of people that
Gotcha.
I had to learn first. It was like I said, I started thinking about streaming in April. It was November before I actually started.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Before I felt like, okay, I know which buttons to push now.
like I know which ones to do, not quite sure. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So, Dragon Age Dreadwolf previews have been coming out a lot. I'm super excited. Even though I finished Dragon Age 3, that was easy. Dragon Age 2. Mm-hmm.
Did you Trespasser?
Yes, I did Trespasser.
Okay.
So I did Trespasser, the whole Dragon Age 2, the whole thing. I mean Dragon Age 3. Dragon Age 2 could bite it. Hello, gorgeous. Are you excited for the next chapter? I don't know. If you do have predictions, what are your predictions based on what you've seen so far?
I am excited, but I'm also annoyed.
Why annoyed?
They came out with a trailer, what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years
or
ago.
Something. And then we got the title 2 years ago, and it's just, it feels like a lot of breadcrumbing and like, just get on, release the game. It's been 10 years since Inquisition now.
Yeah.
Let's get on with it.
Yeah.
By contrast, I feel like I need to say Warhorse Studios, who released Kingdom Come Deliverance in 2018, just announced the sequel.
Shut up.
A week ago. And it's releasing this year.
Oh wow! Okay, so
they're doing it right.
So competition.
BioWare, take notes.
Yeah, like competition. Like get on the ball, people. Let's get this done. What are we doing? Like, so do you think that with a lot of gamers have looked at the trailer for Dreadwolf and look back at the older games and try to make predictions about what's going to happen with not only the lore, but with the original characters. There's a lot of the original characters coming back, or if they're going to scrap everything but 2 and start fresh. What are your thoughts on that?
There is, without giving spoilers, let's say if anybody who has played Trespasser will know what I'm saying. They have to resolve that.
Yes.
They have to resolve that, and they have to give us a choice. Particularly if your Inquisitor was a Dalish elf who romanced a certain person.
Yes.
That Inquisitor needs closure.
Yes.
And I swear to God, if there isn't the closure for that Llewellyn, the outcry,
I think a lot
will
of
be loud. It will be vitriolic.
I agree. Because I was one of those people.
Resolve that.
I was one of those people that will be very, very upset if it doesn't happen. I'm gonna be pissed off.
But so there's certain choices that we had to make, particularly in the Fade in DAI. I think I would like to see a resolution to that, because I do not think that whoever didn't make it out of that, I don't think that should be the end of their story.
Okay. That's okay. That makes sense.
Right.
That makes sense. You're building a great community. I was lurking your stream earlier. I lurk in a lot of people's streams, but I do lurk in your stream as well. You're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're here on Twitch, but you're becoming wildly popular for your published works of Sin City Sanguines, Bond of Kings, Father's Bond, and the 2019 Deep Fried Horrors. When did you start writing, and what led you to fantasy writing in particular?
I don't remember a time that I wasn't writing. My dad, rest him, my dad taught me to read when I was 3. I have no memory of learning to read because I was that young. And from then on, I was reading and I was writing. I used to get in trouble for tearing out the blank page that comes in books.
Yeah.
And writing on it.
Yeah. I used to say they.
I think I was probably about 12 when I started really trying to hone the skill. I wrote I wrote a story in like the 7th grade or something about a vortex that appeared in the science classroom, and the kids all have to go figure out how to close the vortex or whatever. It was the stupidest thing, but it was the bare bones of character development and plot and all that kind of thing. And it just sort of developed from there. Fantasy, honestly, if I'm gonna tell the truth, and I guess I should, I love fantasy anyway. Actually, around that same age, probably 12 or 13, is when I read the Earthsea series by Ursula Le Guin and hooked immediately. Fantasy forever. But the reason I started to write fantasy was because it was easier. It felt more comfortable, but it was also easier than trying to rely on the accuracy of the real world.
Yeah.
Or actual history, because Father's Blood, originally I thought about doing historical fiction.
Okay.
But then I was like, well, if I do that, then I have to, be very accurate on my history. I don't want to do that. I want to make up.
I don't want to do.
I don't want to do that. I want to make it up as I go.
Right.
So I did. If I had known how much work it was to build a world, I might have changed my mind. But But no regrets. No regrets.
No regrets. So, like I said, I was looking at your stream earlier, and you were talking about world building and pulling back on a couple of things, but you are pulling back on Father's Blood for a massive rewrite. Why? And when can we expect it back? Like, what's happening?
Never. No. I love the universe of Father's Blood. I love it so much. I want to live there.
Okay.
But and I've said this on my streams before, I love the story, but I don't think I told it right.
Okay.
These characters are going on for chapters with exposition about the history and the lore. King Eric, when he was a kid, there was a war. And instead of just telling that story, I have his son 40 years later telling the story to someone else. And I'm like, why don't we just rewind to when Eric was a kid, watch him go through all that, because he goes through some shit.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
Gotcha.
So, and I wanted to kind of redo the magic system a little bit. It's a very soft magic system that exists in Father's Blood right now. I wanted to harden it up a little bit, give it some rules, give it some parameters and that kind of thing. But yeah, mostly it's just, I don't think I told the story right. I think I need to do it better.
Authors rarely pull their published works back, but when they do, a lot of times fans are kind of like, what's going on? And do you expect your fans to kind of not only give a little bit pushback on what they've learned, or do you expect them to embrace it wholly?
I think the ones who've heard me kind of give my justifications will be okay with it. But, of course, not all my readers are also Twitch viewers, so they might have some questions. But ultimately, the hope anyway is ultimately if I come back with a better product, it'll pay off, and hopefully even pick up some new readers about it.
That'd be amazing.
That would be great.
So, you released 3 books in the Sanguine City series. Where is book 4?
Book 4 is in Google Docs, right? Yeah, that's been a challenge because, so I put out book 2 and 3 in 2019.
Okay.
And then 2020 happened.
Okay, yes.
And 2020 was what it was, but it was also the year that my dad passed away. And I took a long time working through the emotions surrounding that. 'Cause my dad and I had a complicated relationship, and I, in a hilariously Scorpio turn of fate that I will always laugh at, I delivered his eulogy. And it's funny because he and I had religious conflict
Okay.
for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically stood at his grave and called him an asshole.
Alrighty.
Yeah, it was that kind of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So 21 became just sort of the year of like recovering from all that,
Right.
and I didn't really have it in me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 22 and 23, a lot of life changes happened, so it's just been a lot,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
deal with that I haven't. What's my point? That after all this time now, I feel a little emotionally distant from the story.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And I can't tell if it's because I've grown out of it or
Mm.
just because I haven't tried,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right.
So, and I think reading sounds like a Scorpio. Yeah, Shane. Yeah. But I think reading my books on stream is given me that, like, yeah, we need a conclusion. Quinn deserves a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few other characters that deserve their ends, and so I kind of feel that stirring again.
Okay.
There are currently about 25,000 words written for book 4.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, and they've just kind of been sitting there for a while. And to put that in perspective, book 1 was around 65,000, so about a third of the way done.
Okay.
It's just a matter of sitting down and pounding it out.
Do you plan on continuing the series after this if you reconnect with the characters and the plot of the story, or is this going to be the last book for the series?
I want book 4 to be the final installment. I did entertain the idea of doing like a series of shorts that are just Riker and Lydia,
right?
Like doing things that they do. Like maybe they become demon hunters or something, and they go off like a father-daughter team of. I thought that would be a lot of fun, but I don't know if I actually want to go through with that or not.
Are there any plans to start a brand new series other than the books that you've already started?
Bond of Kings and Sin City Sanguines actually right now is all I really have. I have a couple of like standalone ideas. One of which I can't even talk about the plot because the plot is its own spoiler.
Oh, really?
I can't even like ask people how would I do this.
Oh, dang it.
Because it spoils itself if you ask the question.
Oh, man.
So, excuse me. And then there's another standalone idea that I had that I don't know if I'll go anywhere with it. But for right now, I mean, Bond of Kings is going to be a lot of work anyway by itself. So for right now, that's all I got.
And that sounds like it's plenty. On Fridays, which you just rated it from, you run a writers group on your channel. How's it going so far? And like, how did that start? Like, how did the writers group start on stream? And how far? And like, how's it going?
It is so much fun. It's going well. I think last time we had more submissions last time than I think ever before.
Oh wow.
This week not so much because it happened to coincide with final Patreon games for Viva La Dirt League. So that's where most of my audience comes from.
Yeah.
So they're off doing that. And that's fine. But how did it start? I don't even remember. I want to say it was maybe about a month after I started streaming that we did our first one. And Shing, feel free to correct me because I could be completely wrong. And I think the Gods of Bryanica was great. Yes, that was a great one. We've got this whole like fandom lore starting to build around Brian. It's a long story, but I think it just came about from I had the idea. I wanted to do a writers group. I wanted to be in a writers group, but locally, I'm in Ohio.
Yeah.
There's not much. So, and then just talking to people like Shing and people like Mel, Jen, and Maddie, people that are already interested in writing.
Right.
Wanting to improve, wanting to build on their existing skills, wanting to share their work. Like, let's do that. So
Right.
I drop a prompt in my Discord
Mm-hmm.
on a Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this cat, you better get down.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Mine's someplace around. She's not here yet. I'm surprised. Usually the camera's on and she's here. Hello, gorgeous.
She has been just firmly entrenched in my anal cavity for like a week now.
Hello, sweetheart.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
When you get submissions, how do you balance criticizing those submissions, and keeping, I guess, a kindness?
Yeah.
How do you balance that on stream?
You have to go into criticism with, I mean, there's a reason it's called constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go into a criticism with that in mind. It's not meant to tear anyone down or anyone's skills down.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to build on the skills that they already have.
Right.
It's not meant to say, well, this is how I would write this. It doesn't matter how you would write this. It's not your piece.
Right.
You know. But I see what you're trying to do here, and this may be how you can you can tighten that up.
Mm-hmm.
And obvious, I try to lead in with something positive right away.
Right.
Something I learned in a couple of decades of retail management. This is nothing, figure out what they're doing well,
Mm-hmm.
find something they can improve on, and that's usually received pretty well.
So, with the increased submissions that you're getting with the popularity of the stream, how do you keep up with all the reading that you have to do, plus your own writing, and giving constructive criticism on top of it?
I give them a word limit.
Okay, gotcha.
Whether they stick to it or not, Shing, is another story. Shing, and I love Shing for this because, he just says, like, this is what I wrote, read it or don't, I don't care. But I put a word limit. We started with 500 words. That wasn't enough, and so we increased it to 1,000.
Okay.
And then Shing will give me like 4 or 5 entries that are all 1,000 words. They're all within the limit.
But it's 5 entries, so it's 5,000. Yeah. That's awesome.
Most times. But then I have other people, like my newest mod, Scruff.
Mm-hmm.
His last entry was like 1,300.
Oh wow.
And he was honestly afraid that I wouldn't read it because it was over the limit. And I'm like, don't worry about it.
Right.
If we had like 25, 30 submissions, it might be an issue. But when we have 8 or 9, that's okay.
So what's the format? Do they have to be novel types? Do they have to be screenwrites or screenplays? Can they be screenplays? Can they be poems? What's the writing style?
It's mostly been just like narrative short story type multiple personalities. Stop hitting the mic with your tail. Lay down or fuck off. It's mostly been like short story narrative. We did do a couple of poetry submissions because April is Poetry Month, so we have had some poetry submissions a few times. But I wouldn't mind seeing like a screenplay format or something.
Okay, note to self. Okay,
right.
So everyone, okay, I've been trying to do like I said, I've been in your stream a couple times, and every time I go in your stream, I watch a bunch of people's streams usually around the same time. So I'm usually watching yours, I'm watching Rowan, I'm watching like Anthony Wheeler, I'm watching Brooke Ruffle, I'm watching a bunch of people at the same time.
Anthony Wheeler's so great.
He's so cool, he's so much fun. And I usually, when I'm in your stream, I was like, oh, I gotta submit something. And then I'll go to another stream and completely forget that I should submit.
We're doing too much.
Yeah.
We're doing too much.
And then your stream will end. I'm like, there was something I was supposed to do. What was that thing? Anyway, so and then the next time you go, like, I should submit something. Completely forget. Squirrel moments.
I would love that. I would love it.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna submit something. We're gonna do it. So look out for it.
I would be flattered, actually.
I'd
be like, oh my god, Classic Sam just submitted.
Well, I would be flattered because I'm not published. So you're published. I'm not published.
No.
So I would be flattered for a published author to look at my stuff and give me some constructive criticism.
Gosh.
Recently on TikTok, there have been some authors that have not taken criticism. Speaking of criticism, of their books well, they've pretty much lashed out at the community, told their readers, "I don't need your feedback," or "Your feedback sucks."
Yeah.
What are your thoughts and reactions on that?
It's a bad look. It's a bad look. It's a bad vibe.
Right.
It's not a good idea ever to lash out against negative criticism.
Right.
If you hear negative criticism of your work and it's accurate, that's something to look at. It's something to take and look at your work honestly and go, do I feel like this really does apply? And if so, how can I improve this?
Right.
And if you hear negative criticism of your work and it does not apply, it's just like shitposting or whatever,
right,
then you ignore it. I think, an author should be confident enough in their own work that when they hear something that's just completely not true about their work,
right,
they can go, all right, well, that's what they think,
right,
and move on. It's just a bad look.
Yeah, it is bad. Yeah. So, how do you, in those situations, how do you handle negative critique on your books when you get them? I haven't seen any, but how do you handle it when you get them?
I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna sound the way it sounds, and I'm sorry, but I've never heard negative criticism.
I've not seen any negative criticism.
And it kind of drives me crazy because I'm like, somebody out there has got to tell me that something sucks about this. Please. Because I know there's things I can improve on. Somebody has to have something.
Like something somewhere.
And of all, and all those reviews on Amazon, only one of them is my mom. So it's
so
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I would respond. I think it would be hurt at first, but again, if it was valid, then great. That's something I can improve on.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. So,
exactly. Somebody point at that.
I can't learn from myself in the right points. Exactly. Like it's almost impossible. As a
matter of fact, I'm the one who I've stopped a Lydia reading a few times and pointed out where I wish I had beefed this scene up a little bit more. I wish I had, expanded on this or improved on that or whatever.
Well, that's a good point. But so with the pullback of Father's Blood, do you plan on doing a rewrite or of any of your other books?
I kind of want to do second editions of both Zane and Lydia. I love Riker the way it is.
Okay.
But Zane and Lydia, just again with Lydia, I think I was trying to push Lydia out because I wanted to release it on my cover model's 18th birthday.
Gotcha.
And I did, and it was done. But I wish I had developed a few more things a little bit better. And then for Zane, by the time Lydia came out, I had come up with so much more lore surrounding the vampires.
Yeah.
That I didn't really include in Zane because I was just kind of we call it pantsing, flying by the seat of my pants on.
Yep.
I'd like to kind of retcon some of that lore and bring it into Zane and kind of establish that a little bit earlier.
Okay.
But yeah, if I don't think I would do full rewrites on either of them, but second editions just to kind of tie up those loose ends would be nice.
So I've also seen you reading your books on stream, which is one of my favorite things because a lot of times I'm super busy doing other things, so I'm like, I can't get to read it the way I want to read it. Like I can't sit down how I used to read all the books behind me and really enjoy it because things are happening. So listening to someone read it to me is always fun. Are there any plans to put it on audio books for sale, like on Amazon, Audible, or any of the other streaming services?
Not at this time, and the live audiobooks was kind of my answer to that. As I understand it, audiobooks are not worth the return on investment for independent authors. I don't know details about that, but just from what I've heard around the community and stuff, I will probably do another live read of them better than I did the first time, and actually record them and maybe throw them up on YouTube one of these times. But yeah, for right now, the live audiobook is as good as it gets.
So if and when that happens, and you decide that you weren't going to do the voice acting yourself, would you be very hands-on in finding a voice actor for your work yourself, or do you plan on handing it off to someone to do that for you?
I think that'd be a thing where I would feel compelled to put my trust in the professionals there. Although Dreaded GM springs to mind.
Yes.
So if I had my pick, it'd be him.
Oh, nice. Oh, that would be so epic. Oh my god.
Right?
I just heard his voice in my head.
Yes.
I just heard his voice in my head. I want to try to get him on the channel for an interview.
He's great.
He's amazing. Oh my god, that sound, I can hear him. Okay. Anyway. So you're also a wearable artist, a wearable art designer. I love your crowns. I'm gonna get one day. You sell them. So have you always done this type of fabrication? And how did it come about?
It came about the last time I got married, which may be the last time I get married. I really wanted a tiara, and I did not feel like paying for one. So a lot of research and a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of Etsy searching later. I learned how to make it, and I made my first one for my own wedding. And I just had such a good time doing it.
They're so
I just started making them, and I started selling them at the local farmers market. And then it just grew from there. Until this year or last year, I guess, when I got to meet with Rob and AJ, and put the crowns on their heads.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Oh,
did you see them?
I did not get to see them.
Oh my gosh.
I'll have to super busy. I'm going to, let's see if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work.
Actually, my Instagram might have it. But when I decided I wanted to make them tiaras, and I wanted to put the tiaras on their heads in person, I started to learn a few more techniques.
Okay.
So over the last year, my repertoire of ability has grown. I leveled up in tiara making.
Yep. And
actually, my website just went live last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's
I'm trying to spell Discord correctly.
You can do it.
If you guys want to check out those beautiful pieces of work, some of them are in my Discord as well. Thank you, Myth. In my Discord, in the Your Art section channel of the Discord. So check out the Discord.
Good typing, Myth.
Myth is amazing. What brings, like, when you do these pieces, what's your inspiration for each piece? Like, or do they just come and pop into your head?
Kinda. I mean, that could be that's like a different answer every time. Okay, so this one happened.
It's my favorite one.
I love this one. I don't think I even want to sell this one, but it happened because these petals were like a poinsettia, like a false poinsettia, and I just got to looking at them and noticed that they're pointy, and I'm like, that seems like it could be a tiara. If I can take that apart, then it's a tiara, and I could, and now it's a tiara.
Where can someone purchase? Where can someone purchase your those crowns, your tiaras, as well as your other pieces?
Well, nerdwitch.com now, and that's witch with a Y, WYTCH. Just went live last night, and it's still, like the beginning phases of being a website, but
right.
So I've got some branding still to do, and my best friend makes my hair.
Awesome. Oh, nice.
She's been making synthetic dreadlocks for going on 5 years now for a living. Awesome. We've been thinking about collaborating with like the hair and the tiaras and doing a photo shoot and getting some better pictures up there. So
that's beautiful. That's so much fun. That sounds like a great time. You are also new to D&D. You said that before.
Yeah.
What made you gravitate to TTRPGs, and why D&D in particular?
I love the collaborative storytelling, but my D&D fandom. Let's see, how do I say this? I love D&D the way my dad loved football.
Okay.
Play a little bit, but watch it all the time.
Yes.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And it's like, and some of these games, shows, I guess you can call them, you can't script this stuff.
Right.
You can't write this stuff.
Right.
The Dragonlance campaign on GM Workshop's channel, the Thirsty Sword Lesbians game on Winter's Tales, like
the Players Keep, who they're amazing. I love that they were last week.
And like, you know, the emotional impact. People think it's just a game.
It's not just a game.
It's a game. It's a performance. There's so much to know. And I love that. Like, as a person with autism, if you point at something and go, do you have any idea how much there is to know about that thing? I'm going to stick onto it.
Yep.
And just consume.
Yep.
That's why I love Dragon Age so much, because the lore is so thick and multi-layered. Yes. You know?
It's so deep. Like, there was one point where I was watching Dragon Age where I was just like I was playing it and like weirdly watching it as a movie, and it's very, very strange. Like, it's one of those things, one of the few games where I can do that in, you know. So, you know, I love it.
And some of this, and it's because, like, and you made that scene happen because of the choices you've made up to that point. And D&D is the same way. TTRPG is the same way.
Yeah. Was VLDL the catalyst for your foray into the TTRPG and D&D world?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely,
you are obviously a self-proclaimed super fan. How did that happen, and why not like Critical Role or Dimension 20 or The Player's Keep or any one of the thousands of hundreds of other hundreds of other live play tables?
I have to probably admit to myself that I don't know that I would be such a fan of D&D if Viva hadn't started playing D&D.
Really?
Because I was a Viva fan before I was a D&D fan. And you know, it just probably like a lot of fans, you know, they show up in your Facebook feed or whatever, and you watch a video and you go, that's fucking funny. You start to go down the rabbit hole, and before you know it, you are a rabbit. And you are one of them. And now we've like, God, we've just created so many weird fandom lores, like the Alben. I don't know if you're familiar with the Alben, but we are the Alben. And I don't even think Ben has anything to do with it, but we are the Alben. We praise the wall. It's a lot. But yeah, and then, you know, I got into their D&D game, and I think it was just because of the way they play. Yeah. Because, you know, obviously I love the emotional punches that bigger games can give, but Viva's just different. Yeah. You know, they lean into the comedy. The green screen cutaways are hilarious. Yeah. And then you have Rob, who is Rob, and and you know, I don't know, you're looking at a table of four guys who just love each other out loud. Right. And I think that's the thing that keeps me coming back to Viva over and over again, is they're not afraid as men to just love each other. Loud. Right. And they're also very, very like vocal about their mental health and about being open and honest about what things that are happening in their lives. So right. So speaking of Viva and Robert Hartley, about 2 months ago you had a stream, and I missed it. It popped up on my feed. I think I was either at my dojo or I was in the middle of doing something with a friend or something. I'm not quite sure, but it popped up on my feed, and I went, Robert Hartley hates me. Wonder what the hell is going on here? What was that about? Now it was a clip.
Okay.
But it brought my stream to a screeching halt. That it was so funny that I had to clip it. I had to. I think it was playing like KCD or something. Yeah, Aries. Okay, so this happened after the first episode of Tales of the Misfits aired.
Okay.
And at the table, Britt, mentioned what her sign was. Britt's a Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And all the girls were saying what their sign was, and he's just spoiling. He's just standing up here spoiling. And he threatened to TPK them. Like, Robert Hartley has opinions about astrology.
He does have opinions about astrology.
None of them are kind. But so do I. I have opinions about astrology. It's fun. It's interesting. Fun. It's engaging.
It is fun. I have
and as I've said, people are like, "Oh, it's pseudoscience." Astrology is not trying to be a science.
No,
okay?
It's not supposed to be a science. It's like it's literally theater of the mind.
It's
It's
exactly.
literally theater of the mind, But
and with my anecdotal evidence, I see too many correlations between the attributes of the signs and the way people behave that I go, might hold some water. I'm largely agnostic about a lot of the things I believe. Could be, could not be. Eventually I'm going to die and it won't matter, right? So, but because I've called him an Aries once or twice, he has opinions about me because he thinks that I just absolutely believe in astrology. And he's not bothered to ask me what I actually think. So anyway, that episode of Tales of the Misfits airs. And of course the whole chat is laughing because the girls are talking about astrology and Rob's pissed off. And I said, one thing's for sure though, an Aries will always fight you. And somebody goes, well, isn't Rob an Aries? Yes, he is. And now if he fights me, he proves me right. I know for a fact he's going to be reading this chat eventually. I know for an absolute fact that when he reads that, he's going to want to fight me. But I know for a fact that if he does, he proves me right. And that's the line. That's the line that he pinged me. He pinged me out of a really hyper-focused stream and said, "I think I hate you."
Okay, I need someone. Please clip that. Please clip that. Please clip that.
Clip it. Yes.
Clip it.
It actually is a typical Scorpio strategy because I know you want to fight me, and I know you can't fight me without proving me right about how an Aries will always fight me. I win. Thank you very much.
Oh, Robert Hartley will absolutely have a conniption. That is epic.
I love you, Robert.
Oh, that's great. I love it. I wish I had seen that. Yeah. Oh, now I'm bummed.
This is actually one of the things that led into Shane and Scruff and I designing our game Zodiac, because we're now taking astrological attributes and applying TTRPG mechanics. So don't come at me about astrology or I will get directly into your wheelhouse. And I will make a game about astrology, and I'll get you at a table, and you will play it, and you will have a good time, and I will win.
And you will love it, and that'll be the end of it, and hush your mouth. So,
Twin Tree is my brother or sister.
Twin! Twin is my twin. I love him. So now we need to get you at Gen Con at one of Robert's tables, and somehow float that in there. Oh,
Dreaded GM has already agreed to help playtest.
Ooh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. I'm excited.
If I can get AJ to do it, it'll be great.
That'd be so much fun. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Are there any? Let me back up a little bit.
Sorry.
So we had talked about how you do the writers group. Do you critique or look at writing from games that are being developed, like similar to yours, or D&D or TTRPGs, or have you ever?
I haven't yet. Me, yeah, and Jen too. Aries boss will have a Robert-related name. Yeah, write that down. Actually.
Yeah, clip it.
We'll just name it Robert.
Yeah, exactly. Clip.
I tend to keep my opinions about writing to myself unless I'm asked directly. And I do get a lot, I spent 8 years substitute teaching. Okay. I get a lot of my former students that are like, hey, I wrote this thing. Can you read and let me know? And that's always fun. But yeah, I think if I had someone say, can you look at this and tell me what you think, then I would do that. But I never read something and go, well, these are the things you could be doing better.
Right.
Because who am I? Nobody, like, who cares? But, if somebody comes to me specifically and wants my opinion, yeah, absolutely, I'll tell you what I think.
So are there any plans for you to start making D&D content part of your main focus for your channel?
I don't think I want it to be a main focus. And I don't know if I'm actually digging myself into a hole with this, but there's just so many things that I love to do.
Right.
That I want to touch on all of them. Because I think there's an audience for each of them.
Yes.
And so yeah, but I think we were actually talking about this in stream. Like we're probably going to finish reading Lydia next week.
Okay.
And at that point, what do we do with our Wednesdays?
Yeah.
So we're talking about like writer's workshop or world building for Zodiac, or world building for Bond of Kings, or world building for the viewers and their own projects, that kind of thing. So
right.
so I guess not really, but sort of.
Not really, but kind of, maybe.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, we'll get into world building for gaming or for writing or for whatever. But yeah, I don't want any one thing to be like the sole focus of the channel yet.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's kind of like a variety type of stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I don't know. I love so many things. I love gaming, and I love writing, and I love making stuff, and that's what I want to do.
Have you ever pulled, with your knowledge of Dragon Age lore and the lore that you've developed in your books, have you ever thought of combining the two, or combining all the lore you know into a TTRPG game or world building type of stream?
Honestly, I think that's kind of where Zodiac is headed.
Okay.
Because astrology has kind of been, I've been a practicing witch for 25 years, and astrology's been a special interest for most of that time.
Okay.
Yeah, applying that to a TTRPG has been fun, actually. Really fun. It's created a lot of work for Shing, I gotta say, but that's part of why we added Scruff to the team. I have the astrology knowledge and Shing has the TTRPG knowledge, but we were struggling like knowing how to translate one to the other.
Gotcha.
And Scruff has experience with both, so I can say Aries monster, and he knows exactly what that means mechanically.
Gotcha.
Or Shing can say this specific mechanic, and Scruff can go, that sounds like this particular sign, and so I think 3 is a charm with the team so far.
Do you plan on DMing in the future for fun, professionally? I mean, I know you have a lot on your plate with the writing and streaming and creating a brand new TTRPG. Do you plan on making DMing part of that whole repertoire?
I would love to, for fun. I think with D&D, there's just so much to know. I would be super nervous to do it with the knowledge level that I have right now. But I am greatly looking forward to leading a game of Zodiac when we get to that point. That will be fun. Okay. But yeah, I love, because I love storytelling. And I actually think, I've thought about this before, I actually think that the Bond of Kings universe would lend itself pretty well to gaming. So that would be fun too, but yeah, I would love to do it for fun. Professionally, you might have to give me a few years.
So you don't think you could just jump in the deep end and kind of just go, I know I've watched a bunch of Vivo Dirt League, I've watched Dimension 20, I don't know if you do. I've watched all these different things. I think I could do this, it's fine.
No, not at all. I think I might have believed that before I watched GM Workshop's Dragonlance campaign. And we're looking at a group of 6 professional DMs playing a game, and they just, I'm used to watching Viva where Rob has to go, yeah, it's your D20, roll it, and add your modifier.
Right.
But you're watching Zach Nom be like, all right, I've rolled this and I've added this and I'm going to use that. And now no, you can't damage me because of this reason. And boom,
Right.
boom, boom. And they just all, and I'm like,
Well, Dragon Lace is I think is an exception to the rule. Like
maybe.
most tables are either actors or brand new
Yeah.
players or people who are played D&D once or a couple times or
Yeah.
never before in their life. So Dragon Lace is its own thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever compare to that type of game. I don't think I could ever run it.
It was amazing. It was an absolute dream team. The 5 players and then Rackham GMing, it was just an absolute dream team. I loved it so much.
You spoke earlier about going to Gen Con. Do you normally go to a lot of cons, and what do you do there? Are you a vendor, or you just are?
Now I would love to be a vendor at a con. But as a person with autism, I struggle with crowds. It's a lot. It's a lot of activity. It's a lot of movement. It's a lot of sound. It's a lot of light. I get overstimulated very quickly, very easily. I made the mistake in the summer of 2019. I made the mistake of trying to go to 2 different concerts within a couple weeks of each other. Stupid idea. Stupid bad idea. Melted down so bad. So cons, even when I didn't go to Gen Con last year. It was just me, Rob, and AJ in a cafe for 3 hours.
Okay.
So and then I went home. Like, I don't want any part of that.
Right.
But I will bite the bullet if it means meeting a lot of my new friends in person and possibly sitting at a table with Rob Hartley and and maybe putting another tiara on AJ Winter's head. I will do it.
I'm gonna buy a tiara eventually.
And I've learned a little bit more about my thresholds, to know that, like, oh, I need to step away now or I'm gonna melt down.
So I've also, speaking of autism and being overwhelmed, I've heard you speak about mental health issues. You are in Meyerfield, People of Dirt League, and how they are open about their mental health and everything else. You have talked about it on your stream a couple of times. What are your thoughts on the mental health community and the TTRPG community being something that seems to gravitate toward each other?
I love that. I think that fantasy and gaming is a safe place for people with mental health struggles to sort of vent about that and maybe work through some trauma, work through some grief or whatever they're going through. For people with autism especially, it's nice to have something to hyper focus on that isn't your life.
Yes.
It's a safe place to kind of hide and process grief. I'll throw Dragon Age out there again. When I played Dragon Age 2, the Legacy DLC, again, no story spoilers, but at the end of that DLC, Hawk's mom shows up. And she has a line, I'm gonna get emotional probably. She has a line that says, the best of him is still in you.
Yes.
And I had already played through Legacy 3 or 4 times before my dad died. And then my dad died, and I heard that line, and I just,
Right.
I had to walk away for a little while, and so that's just an example of, like I said, it feels like a safe place to process through a lot of those emotions. And I'm loud about mental health, and I always will be, and I admire anybody else who is. So yeah, to see it become what am I trying to say? I feel like the gaming community has come at mental health with just open arms and gone, like, here, come over here, hang out with us. We're all the same, and you're safe here. And I just love that. I love it.
Yeah. Recently, I've noticed a lot of people who are in the TTRPG community express, me included, that they are late diagnosed ADHD, late diagnosed autism. How do you when you have fans coming in, especially new people coming in, who tend to want to use your openness to trauma dump. How do you mitigate that on your channel?
There's a time and a place for that, of course. If it's like a writers group stream, for example, and like we've got people who have written their submissions and they're waiting to their turn to be read or whatever, like maybe not the place for that, but it's also kind of why I've been meaning to do a stream called Mental Check Monday.
Ooh, nice.
The problem with that is that Mondays are like my long days with my day job, so it's hard to fit that in.
Yeah.
But Dread GM has been doing, like, what do they call it? Hug Guild or something
Hug
like
Guild
that.
or something. Yeah, I've been in there a couple of times. I think it's Hug Guild.
Yeah. You're just like, come in and like, here's all my problems, and you feel better afterward. But and other times I don't mind, especially during a game, during a Dragon Age game, because those are pretty emotionally impactful. We got to talking about things like that, grief and trauma and stuff in one of the streams once, and I don't mind it, because people come into stream and trauma dump. It's probably because they don't have anywhere else to do it.
Right.
So I don't mind being like the listening ear for that, but also I'm not a therapist.
Yeah.
So all I can do is go, dude, that sucks, and and
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So recently, I don't know if you're aware of this. I know the playmat and Jillian Fox.
Yeah.
Recently, they were in a delicately put this, in a turmoil with a very large content creator who has since scrubbed his socials, Gabe Hicks. Do you know about it?
No.
Oh, okay. So we won't get. Never mind. We won't get into it.
Well, let's get me some tea.
All right. So brief rundown. Brief rundown. Gabe Hicks reported to himself to be polyamorous. He was not. He was dating multiple people in the community, stating that this person wasn't a great person, Jillian in particular. While dating another person, I guess it was a thing, and I don't want to go into it because I don't know the details.
Sounds like a thing.
Yeah, I don't know the details, but what happened was that because he is African American, I don't know if he's African, because he's black, it caused the not so nice people to come out the woodwork and attack POC content creators.
Well, we don't like that.
Yeah. So but that turned into a positive, and people gained massive followers. Like I gained so many followers from that. I was like,
yay!
So yay! So that's the tea. But since you can look it up, or we can talk about it some other time. But that was the tea. But they seem to be doing well. I'm glad they are.
That's good.
Mini collector or dice goblin?
Dice goblin.
Really?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Must have the shiny. I mean. I make tiaras out of shiny things. I love shiny things, right?
I love the bath. I like the clicky clacks. What is one of the most important lessons you have learned from gaming so far?
Ooh. I think, again, not to keep throwing the autism card, but as a person with autism, gaming has taught me not to treat people the way I want to be treated, but to treat them the way they want to be treated. Dragon Age, again, great example of that. You pick one wrong dialogue option with an NPC in Dragon Age, you're not talking to that person anymore.
Yeah, or exactly. That's
or
it.
The wrong dialogue tree with a companion character, you don't get their personal quest.
That's it.
And you miss out on things.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing I love about Dragon Age 2 is the personalities you can pick for Hawk.
Yes.
Purple Hawk to me is the one true Hawk, but there are times there are times we pick a blue or a red depending on the situation. So that's been a thing, how to talk to people, to choose my words more carefully. Because as you know, like a lot of people with autism can be kind of blunt and come off as rude, even though that's not the intention. Right. It doesn't matter what your intention is. It matters how it's received.
Right.
And you want to be received in a way that makes people not want to run screaming away from you. and it probably took me way too long to learn that, but how to interpersonal relate.
Yes.
Interpersonally relate. Because I have been described as unapproachable and intimidating before, and I will blame the Scorpio factor for that.
Well, I don't know. My sister, I guess so. My sister's Scorpio, so maybe. Maybe.
Because the RBF is like this.
Yes, yeah, that's
right?
her face. That's her face. Just
yeah.
Like I don't have that face. I have a facsimile of it. I'm Pisces, so I have a facsimile of it. And
my best friend is a Pisces. That's cute.
Most people think that I'm either bored or just zoned out. So I don't have RBF. I don't think, unless I'm being a medic, then that's a different story. Dragon Age is your thing. Dragon Age has always been your thing. But out of curiosity, what do you think about Baldur's Gate 3 and the impact it's had on Dungeons and Dragons and how many people it's brought in?
I think it's too expensive right now.
Yeah.
And so I haven't played it yet because we're broke up in here. But as a franchise, Baldur's Gate was referred to as the spiritual predecessor to Dragon Age.
Mm-hmm.
And because it plays so similarly and it can take so many different branches and story turns and that kind of thing based on your choices, I really want to play it because I kind of feel like it'll fill the ever widening chasm between Inquisition and Dreadwolf, right?
It does. It totally does.
Yeah, see? I really want to, but like, I don't know, $80 on it. I make most of my money in the spring and the summer, so
right.
I'll be able to buy it here pretty soon, but not today. Not today.
But
yeah, I love the idea of the franchise. One of our Viva community members, actually Harley Quinn, has been playing through Baldur's Gate 1. Okay. And it's been fun to kind of watch that happen. But yeah, BG3 has been so popular, and I can't watch any of the streams because I don't want story spoilers. And that's literally all GM Workshop has done for like 6 months now. Yes.
I mean, it got in partner, so.
Man, yeah, it got in partner. You know, can't be mad about it. But
somebody gift NerdWytch freaking BG3 so I can freaking talk about it.
You know, I was really hoping I would get it for Christmas. No.
So module or homebrew? I kind of know the answer, but module or homebrew?
I mean, I would have to lean toward homebrew because just like, you know, the creativity there, literally endless, like boundless things you can do with homebrew.
So you said you're a writer, a successful writer, in my opinion. That's I don't care what anyone says. If you have 4 books published, 4 books published, 5-ish.
Well, six if you count poetry.
Yes, 6 if you count poetry. If you have that many books published, you're a successful writer. Done. But in your opinion, what is the most important personality trait or strength someone would need to work in your industry and be successful at what they do?
Perseverance. Diligence. The ability to just do the thing.
Okay.
Just do the thing. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been my thing. Just do the thing. Just do the thing. Everybody will be happy, and we can move forward.
That's it. There's not a secret sauce. You just do it.
So, what are your suggestions for people who are doing the thing? They're putting the work in, and all of a sudden, bam, writer's block, or they don't know where to go for the story, or they're stuck somewhere.
I like Brandon Sanderson's advice for this. You break away from the manuscript and just try different things out.
Okay.
Because as long as you are just obsessing about like where's the scene gonna go, where's the story gonna go, nothing's actually happening.
Right.
But if you start to just write, okay, what happens if this person and that person do this instead of what they're doing? Write it out and see how it goes. If it doesn't work, do something else. Okay. Switch some things around, move it around, write that out and see how it goes. And eventually something will click,
right,
and make more sense. It might force you to rewrite a few things, but that's okay, you know. There's a sunk cost fallacy that exists in writing, I think, and I think a lot of newer authors, they go, well, you know, I've already written 15,000 words in this piece, and I don't want to delete or
Right.
cut or whatever. You can't think about the work you've already done. You've got to
Right.
think about where is it going. You've got to think about
Right.
the future all the time. If this scene doesn't work, get rid of it.
Okay.
Because if it doesn't work, they'll tell you. They'll let you know it's not working.
So, do you, when you're writing your stories and you're doing your novels and your books, a lot of authors, sometimes me as well, say that their characters speak to them. Like, I can literally hear my characters in my head. I can hear the dialogue. I can see the scene. Is that a thing for you?
This guy showed up, wouldn't leave, and now he's on the cover. Every single one of my characters in the Sin City Sanguines is based on a real person that I know, except Riker.
Really?
Riker showed up and was like, I have an idea. And I was like, who the hell are you? And he took over. Took over.
Okay.
This, by the way, the model's name is Henry Graves.
Mm-hmm.
They are a great person. They are a very handsome young person, as you can see. They charged me not a single cent to use this photo. And in fact, the photo that I wanted to use, they were like, actually, can I reshoot that? So he did all this makeup and stuff on the day.
Oh, wow.
Because he didn't like the original photo and he wanted to update it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like, just an awesome person.
So,
and I don't think I could have imagined a better Riker.
I mean, it's amazing.
He's amazing.
No spoilers. But I read multiple books at the same time, so you never know what I'm reading. But so how do you help someone who's writing who doesn't have that voice in their head? What do you say to that person?
Gosh. I don't think I've ever talked to a writer who hasn't had that, to be honest. I think if you're not hearing your characters talk to either you or each other, then this is the exact opposite of the way I write. Because the way I write, I start with dialogue. Dialogue is like, my first drafts are all dialogue.
Okay.
And then I build the meat around the bones.
Okay.
But for some people, maybe the bones are the events of the plot, and they can build dialogue and characterization around that. Whatever gets you excited to get going, do that.
Gotcha.
And your characters will either show up or they won't. And if they don't, then it's your job to make them do something.
Right.
Because readers don't attach to a world or to lore or to events the same way they attach to characters. And if your characters aren't there, it's going to be bad. Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to be great.
What is one piece of advice you would give someone who's just starting out in fantasy writing?
Get over the idea that you can do anything new. Because you can't.
Right.
You can do old things in new ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can do tropes in twists, and twist them around.
Mm-hmm.
Zane, for example, Zane's story started when I was seeing the guy on whom Zane is based. He is a musician as well as an artist and a lot of things. He's the same as me. He wears a lot of hats. And he had written a song about a vampire who had kidnapped a woman and was like basically keeping her prisoner so that he can continue to feed on her until, whatever. And my brain twisted it and went, what happens if the vampire gets kidnapped? Why does he get kidnapped? What do they want from him? And the story just started to pour on. So like, you can do old things in new ways. You can turn tropes on their heads. You can, Brandon Sanderson again, he, the first Mistborn book is basically 3 tropes in one.
Right.
And it became, he's a freaking multimillionaire now.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but get over the idea that you're going to do the next great new original thing. No, you're not.
Yeah. There's nothing new under the sun.
No.
So, it's always been my belief that people who stream specific content, or any content for that matter, are pretty much undiscovered, producers, directors, actors, writers. Where
I love
do you
that.
see yourself in those roles? And do you plan on expanding on them? Because essentially, you produce your own show, you direct yourself.
Yeah. I was a drama club kid in school, so like I love acting. I do try to, like, when I'm reading my books on stream, I do try to like give everybody their own voice and act the books out, as it were. So I do enjoy that, but I think I would enjoy more like the directing thing. I love having a vision and watching it come to life.
Right.
I think that's the thing that I would enjoy the most. But also, I know me well enough to know that while I was behind the camera, I would want to be in front of it.
Okay. I get it. Totally get it.
So I guess the answer is yes.
So if the answer is yes, and with the variety of things that you do on your stream, do you plan on
all the theater kids autistic.
I'm not a theater kid. I wasn't a theater kid. I was prevented from being a theater kid because I was a band kid.
Okay, well.
So I was in high school. I picked up the violin and pretty much started playing almost immediately. And because of that, my orchestra director was like, and I wanted to switch over to ADHD. I want to go to acting. I want to go to theater. He's like, no, you're my prodigy. What do you mean? So I was prevented. You can't leave me. So I wasn't able to switch to theater. So technically, I mean, I did do a couple of theater things. I was able to sneak away, but technically, I'm not a theater kid. So people always say some of their biggest influences are, some actor or some person in their family. But what is one of your biggest influences no one's ever heard of?
Wow, that's a good one. I think maybe, I don't know. I think Ursula Le Guin probably isn't as well known now as she was in her prime. I would say Marion Zimmer Bradley, but I think some things came to light after her death that weren't great about her, so I'm worried about that.
I have so many of her books behind me, and I'm not happy, but it's okay.
Yeah. But we're reading through Mist of Avalon, the tone and the voice that she uses in that book very much did influence the tone of Father's Blood.
Yeah.
Just that like archaic sort of language that I use.
Yeah.
Gosh. And I was a big Anne Rice fan, so I don't know that I have a lot of like not well known influences besides my grandma.
Okay.
You haven't heard of my grandma?
No, exactly.
My grandma Betty, she passed in 2001. But she just absolutely loved everything I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
From the time I was a kid. When she figured out I could sing, she would like stand me up in front of, and she was very Catholic, so she'd stand me up in front of her nun friends and be like, sing whatever, and I'd sing whatever, and they'd go, oh yeah, no, clap, 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 and like, there's a lot of positive reinforcement that I wasn't getting at home,
okay.
that I didn't really know how to receive. But looking back on it in my adulthood, I was like, well, she really wanted to encourage me, and she really wanted me to believe that I was doing something right. But she was like that with everybody too. Like it didn't matter if she figured out you could do something well, by God, she would beat that drum. When my little cousin finally learned how to pronounce baloney properly, or something. Can you believe what Kurt said? He said baloney. He said it right. Oh my God. Like, yeah, she was very positive.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the sweetest
great.
thing ever. Oh my god.
She was
So
great.
I just want to go back a little bit and talk about, as someone who is autistic, and with this is my opinion. I don't care what anyone says, but with your books becoming a little bit more popular over time, how do you deal with more and more people knowing you and knowing your face as an author and coming to you as like, oh my god, it's Amanda Sebring? How do you deal with that and the overwhelming, sometimes overstimulating factor of being well known?
I prefer it. If we're being honest. But also there's a deep like bashfulness, especially in person. You're like, oh, I love such and such about your work. I'm like, stop it. You know?
Like, stop.
But also tell me some more things. Yeah, so there's a weird sort of duality at play there, where I'm like, yes, I want 1 million people to buy my books tomorrow,
right.
You know, and I want the Reddit communities, and I want the fucking YouTube channels, and I want the con. Brandon Sanderson has a con. Okay,
I know.
I want a con. But also, it is very like,
right.
So I feel like I need to get a little more comfortable talking about my own work, because maybe it's common among authors, but I mean, a lot of that stuff just happens in your head.
Yes.
And it's very weird to have that the things that are in your head are now projected onto a page, and now other people are literally reading your mind. And maybe that's why it's so awkward.
Speaking of that, how do you I've seen you write on stream a couple times, like you know, editing, writing on streaming. I do that sometimes, especially with my world building. I've done it a couple times with some screenplays that I've been writing. I find it distracting. How are you able to write on stream and not easily become distracted? Because my chat knows you can distract me easily. Because
I was gonna say there's no not distracting me.
Yeah, I'm a complete like squirrel, you know.
Xing once managed to derail an entire stream just by naming a character Brian. Or maybe it was the like there was like 5 different names and their first initials all spelled out Brian. But Brian is like a running joke in the stream. I have viewers from Greece. I have viewers from Finland, and I have other places. And they're all, you know, they're naming characters names that are traditional to them. But as an American, I don't know how to pronounce them.
Right. Right.
And I would struggle. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I really cannot say this. And the mountain breed in the land of On. Yeah. And it might have been Xing who was like, all right, well, anytime you can't pronounce a name, we're just going to call them Brian.
Okay.
And so it wasn't enough just to call them Brian. But yeah, he had the mountain of Bree in the land of On. He did like 5 different names that all spelled out Brian. Like it's been Nerb. There was a dragon named Nerb, Brian backwards. So yeah, there's no not distracting me.
Okay, so I'm not alone, because Twin just said Sam distracted, never seen it happen. Like there was a stream where we were doing some world building and ended up looking for tickets to New Zealand. Don't know how that happened. Like, yeah,
that sounds right. Sounds right.
Don't know how that happened. We're just like, okay, this seems pretty cheap. We can get there. Derail the stream.
Yeah.
So,
but I lean into it though because it's entertaining.
Right, exactly. It's entertaining.
Like, I think I laughed for a full entire 60 seconds at that though. Yes. And like in my head, I'm like, this stream is never gonna get off the ground because I can't stop laughing.
Yeah, agreed. Can't stop laughing. Can't stop going. Okay, we're doing this now.
Oh, we're focusing now.
I am irresponsible. So how many editions of D&D have you played so far, and what is your favorite? John.
Do you want to know the truth?
Yes.
The only D&D I have ever played is Twitch Tales on Robert Hartley's channel.
Really?
I still haven't played in person. Yeah.
Okay, Gen Con.
I'm bad and wrong.
Gen
And a
Con,
lot of that
Gen
is
Con.
because like I moved to Ohio less than 2 years ago. I don't really know a lot of people around here, and of course, even when you do know people, scheduling is a problem, and it just seems kind of like, all right, I've got enough going on without trying to wrangle a bunch of grown-ass adults to play a game.
Exactly.
So Twitch Tales has kind of been my outlet for playing game. Yeah, so 5e is it.
5e is it. So speaking of Twitch Tales, I have not been. I think the last time I was sitting in Twitch Tales, the character was like part mushroom or becoming part mushroom.
Yeah.
So way back.
I really wanted to stay a mushroom too, man.
Yeah, I see. I don't even know where you're at anymore. So yeah. I'm gonna catch up eventually. So, what other TTRPGs other than the one you're creating do you enjoy playing, or would you like to play?
I would love to run a Dragonlance. Thirsty Sword Lesbians seems like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's one, I don't remember the name of it now, but AJ played it in her 48-hour calamity, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Jen, maybe you remember where I think somebody was playing as like a crow, and there was like a witch, and they were all the witches' familiars. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the name of it now, but I mean, obviously, like, that would have been great.
Right.
Yeah, Jen didn't want to be a mushroom anymore. I really wanted to stay a mushroom. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, like, hello, I've got me. I want to be a mushroom.
The mushroom crown is beautiful. Like, hello.
Right? Yeah.
You know, it's gorgeous. So mushrooms,
like, whole mushroom crown over there. I've got them in my hair somewhere.
That's so cool. So, other than TTRPGs and other than writing, what other things do you enjoy for your pastime?
Oh gosh, I mean, that's kind of like, okay, gaming, yes. Obviously the video gaming I do. I'm Dragon Age self-proclaimed lore master. Elder Scrolls, I'm pretty deep into Elder Scrolls lore as well. I will say forever that Oblivion is a better game than Skyrim. You can fight me about it. Yeah. Oh god. Did you not play Oblivion?
Bonkers. Oblivion, like, I love Oblivion, don't get me wrong, but it drives me crazy. There's so many things. I'm like, what is that shadow? Like, I get distracted so easily. So that's why it bothers me, because I'm like, I'll see a shadow that has nothing to do with anything. Like,
you can fight me, John. I don't know. You can fight me if you want.
That's
we'll
a bold
fight.
call.
Actually, I'm going to be setting up a point redeem eventually. That's called Fight Me, where we'll battle on stream, like, you know, rolling dice and stuff. Yeah, Jen's been playing since Arena. I think it might be the writer in me, because the way the quests are written, the way the quest lines are structured, I should say, particularly the Dark Brotherhood quest line. Fight me. They're just better, you know, and for Skyrim, especially the Dark Brotherhood, just wasn't as fulfilling. There wasn't the emotional impact. You know, when you get the big twist in the Dark Brotherhood questline in Oblivion, like, I cried tears, okay?
That's
Did you roll 20 on initiative? I don't know where my d20 is.
He rolled a 14.
Fight me.
He cast Fireball.
Oh, there you go. Cast Fireball.
Oh my gosh. I love John made the dice thing work, so I'm happy.
Yeah. I've been thinking about playing Oblivion on stream.
Really?
Because I've got a buddy that has put thousands of hours into Skyrim but hasn't touched Oblivion. What are you doing?
You have to play. You can't.
You have to play Oblivion.
You have to play Oblivion. Even if you have to go back, you have to play Oblivion. It's like look, I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan. Huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Massive Assassin's Creed fan, and I've played every single one, even the ones I hate. So if you're a fan of the thing, you have to play them, even if you hate it.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. So, Kingdom Come Deliverance, I just discovered maybe about 6 months ago. Hooked, addicted.
Really?
All right, I rage quit that game like half a dozen times because I didn't get it. Like, I thought I was gonna pick up another Skyrim set in 1403 Bohemia, but no, ma'am. I should also mention I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I really enjoy nature. I love hiking and splashing in water. I've been a puddle stomper since I was 4.
Oh my god.
So that's another thing that I like to do. I don't
Oh,
just spend all my time indoors.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
And Ren Fair. Love Ren Fair.
Ren Fair, I haven't been in forever, and I miss going. I should start
Oh my
going back because I adored it when I used to go. I used to be there for hours and hours, just walking around, being crazy and
Love
insane. And
As soon as I walk in, I'm like, I live here. This is where I live now.
this is it. I'm just gonna dress like this and talk like this and be like this
Yeah.
forever. Oh, we're closing. Damn it.
My brother and sister-in-law, they live in Louisiana, and they travel literally the country going to Ren Fairs all the time.
Oh, nice.
And, they don't even come home for Thanksgiving anymore. They come home in September for Pirates Weekend at the Ren Fair, and then we don't see them again until Christmas.
You have other things happening, and what's going on? What new is going on? What can we expect? What's happening?
Zodiac's probably the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is in development. I think we have developed to the point that character creation is playable. And I think I mentioned before we're starting to work on monster design and building the world, the lore, the storyline of like, okay, so we've made all these mechanics and character attributes. What's the point now? What are the characters doing? So we're getting to that point now. Xing's been hard at work developing the magic.
Oh, nice.
Because we're trying. Well, I don't know. I can't say that we're actively trying to make it unique. We want it to feel like a TTRPG, but we don't want it to feel like just another version of D&D.
D&D, right?
So the way, like, for example, we've done away with classes
Okay.
and traditional leveling up.
Okay.
And instead we've made it possible to earn what we're calling astral points that you can cash in for different abilities.
Okay.
So, and we all feel like it lends a lot to player agency, to where like you're not locked into a class or a subclass, and you're not restricted on the things you can and can't do based on your class or subclass. Like if you decide, I do a lot of melee fighting, but I want to be able to cast a spell or two. I've got these astral points. I want to be able to cast that spell. You can do it. So yeah. Thank you, Miss. Yeah, definitely. We'll be in touch. And/or are you in my Discord server? Because you should be.
Do you? Is it based on a D20 system or what's
D20 system?
Okay.
And so that would probably be the biggest thing to look for. I can't say that I have a goal for Sin City Sanguines 4 to be released right yet, but I do have a goal for Bond of Kings. The plan, well, I don't know how to describe the plan.
What's the plan?
The Father's Blood is 148,000 words. It's a lot.
Yes.
And to put that into perspective, 2 of the Sin City Sanguines books are almost 148,000 words. And I feel like that's too much. So what I want to do is I just want to write out Bond of Kings, start to finish, however long that takes. And then I want to break it up into about 50,000 word chunks.
Okay.
And release them a couple of months apart from each other.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome.
And see what happens. How long that'll take? A couple of years, probably, honestly. So I think that Zodiac would be the biggest thing to look for from me sooner rather than later.
Okay.
The Wednesday streams will become other things.
Okay. Will become other things.
We're really leaning toward the idea of a writer's workshop that feels like a true attempt at development, right, of the skills of writers. And then I kind of want to throw some witchy stuff in there too, because why wouldn't I?
Right. So, you are an independent publisher. are there plans on becoming published by a publishing company, or do you plan on staying independent?
I really want to stay independent
I hear
for
a but,
now.
but I hear a but.
I think if I had a story that I wasn't so emotionally attached to, I might be okay shopping that around to a trad publisher. But and of course, if I was to be approached by an agent or somebody that went like, "Hey, really love Sin City Sanguines, like pull that off the indie market and let's go trad with it," maybe. It would depend on what do they want me to change about it, or something. But that's the big thing is like I really don't want to be told what to do and how to write. It triggers my oppositional defiance, and I am going to do what I want.
Right.
And also, a lot of times trad publishers kind of leave the marketing up to you anyway. So if you're going to take a cut of my sales, and also I have to do my own marketing, what's the point of you at all?
Right. We've talked a lot, and I really enjoyed your time. So thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.